Hi everyone. Hi, hope everybody's doing really well. Rob back for another video. Just trying a few things differently. Obviously, as you can see, I'm off camera, so yeah, I always think it's nice to just change things up a little bit in terms of sort of how you film, etc., etc. And I'm not feeling particularly angelic today, so I thought I'd sort of stay off camera for once. Don't worry, it's not going to become a regular thing, but a change is as good as a rest, as they say. So, yeah, why am I here today? Okay, well, as the title suggests, this is a response to Bill's Bill, the vinyl verse, his wonderful video that he put up a little while back now um, regarding his A to Z of prog, progressive rock music. So obviously, as we all know, Bill is a big progressive rock fan, particularly of the group Genesis, who I know he's got a great deal of affection for. And yeah, he did a great response, which sadly I didn't actually see first. I actually stumbled across one or two other people who, down the line who had subsequently done a response to his video, and obviously grappled with it. I think a couple did actually manage to do an example for all 26 letters. One or two failed on a couple. I think even Bill himself failed. I think it was X. I think he stumbled on. So yeah, I've not managed to do 26. I've actually done 25, and the last one is a little bit of a cheat. But I seem to recall from Bill's video that he employed a little bit of cheatery as well. So yeah, and he should know he invented the. He came out with the thread, so I guess if it was all right for Bill, it was going to be all right for me. So yeah, this I'm going to be honest. I don't have a vast number of of what in the classic sense would be called progressive rock albums. I've got a fair few, but obviously in terms of keeping to the rules of the thread and doing it either by the name, alphabetically by the name of the band or artist, or by the title of the record, I could only find 25. But as I say, it's not all of these records that I'm going to show are classic progressive rock albums. So I've kind of changed it up a bit, subverted it, if you like, to incorporate records that are progressive for different reasons. They're innovative. They were sort of pushing the boundaries, I guess, and were sort of progressive in inverted commas in their own right. So okay, so with that in mind, I'll just sort of whiz through them. I'll try not to be too long, and yeah, so I hope you enjoy it anyway. So it's a bit of fun. So anyway, so the first one, obviously with A, and this is the Brazilian band Azimuth. Okay, and this was their debut release. This is actually a reissue because I believe that originals are scarce, as usual with these kind of artists, rare and difficult to get. Particularly as they were Brazilian artists and probably didn't sell far out of their own territory, but I don't know, I'm not sure. I remember Alan's Static Traveller showing this a number of years ago, and in commenting, saying how sonically amazing it was, and the needle drop he did was really lovely. So yeah, I managed to procure a copy. So yeah, they are, I say, they're a Brazilian sort of jazz samba fusion band, I guess, sort of taking traditional Brazilian rhythms adding sort of a progressive jazz feel, with some really nice vocals as well, and as I mentioned, a production that's kind of second to none. So, probably one of these records that could be potentially used as a sort of test record, I guess, if you're sort of looking to upgrade your hi-fi, or going for an audiophile style system. So yeah, that's Azimuth. So okay, so we move on to B, and that's the debut album by the Scottish band the Blue Nile, and this is Walk Across the Rooftops. Yeah, this is a classic 80s album, headed by the wonderful Paul Buchanan and his fabulous vocals. Yeah, this is a kind of dark, brooding record of sort of urban to sort of that sort of depicts the sort of urban decay and so on, and sort of dissatisfaction. Very downbeat album, but a nonetheless beautiful album in my opinion. Absolutely just fantastic production. I believe this was used as a test record, I think, for Lynn Sondex, I think it was, which I know caused a little bit of controversy with their fans and so on, and they were sort of, the band were criticised for it. But to be fair, I don't think it was kind of their idea, or so I believe, to use it for that purpose. But certainly as an album, it came out in 1983. The wonderful, sweeping, majestic single, Tinseltown in the Rain, which is just, if you haven't heard that, it's just an unbelievably good song, and was a single. I'm not sure whether it was a hit or not. I don't really remember, but yeah, fantastic album anyway. Okay, then we move on to C. A little bit more up to date. This is Circulus and Clocks Are Like People. So I think this was another one actually that I saw on Alan's channel, and checked out. So yeah, Circulus, they're a modern progressive band, sort of in the vein of sort of Canterbury sort of prog, Steve Hillage, that kind of sound. They do it very, very well, very convincingly, with a kind of modern twist. They've done several albums. It was always my intention to get more of their albums, but it's like with everything, there's only so much time, so much music out there, so I never actually got around to getting any more. When did this come out? 2006. So that's Circulus and Clocks Are Like People. Okay, then D, I went for Deuter, the artist Deuter, and this is his album Ecstasy. So Deuter's a German artist, very much into sort of meditative music. I guess you could call it new age music, I guess. Certainly that I don't particularly like that Handel moniker, but it's obviously it's given to side of anything that's kind of ambient, laid back, that's kind of quite sparse instrumentally. But yeah, really, really quite a nice, languid album. This guitar based, meditative sound, very laid back, nice light album, and that's on the wonderful German Kuckuck label. So yeah, pleased to get that. And that was okay, and then going for E, and that's Evensong by the amazing Blondell. So yeah, these guys played a lot of sort of medieval style lutes and sort of John Renbournish, I guess, to a certain extent. Looked like madrigal, old English sound, quite progressive. Did a number of albums. I've got a couple of them. I've got another one called England. This one was from 1971, I think. So that's Evensong by the amazing Blonde L. The next one is magnificent. This is the Wonderful Fuchsia. So this this is a wonderful, progressive, real one-of-a-kind record that was put together, written and arranged by wonderful Tony Durant from I think it was 1970 or 71. So I think there was a follow-up to this some years ago. This is a reissue that I was lucky to get because originals are very rare and expensive, and it's a double album. Comes with the main album and then some demos and extras and a DVD and a poster and so on. It's quite a nice package. But yeah, wonderful symphonic, progressive folk pop album. You can just throw all these monikers at it and names, but it's just a wonderful listen. Beautifully produced, beautifully arranged, sung, long form songs. Doesn't really sound like anything else, and it's definitely one of those cult classic albums that you can see why it's had all the praise heaped upon it, and it's well deserved. Okay, so we then go to G. Probably a top 10 album of all time for me, or certainly my top 20. Peter Gabriel's first. Amazing, what I call a progressive pop album. So yeah, this is obviously after sort of couple of years hiatus after he left Genesis. I think Gabriel had a lot of songs and ideas that were that he built up, and I think that's why this album is just so wildly eclectic. I mean, it really is. But that's for me what just makes it so compelling and interesting. Fabulous Hypnosis cover there as well with the rain. This was often referred to as Car, because obviously these first four albums aren't officially titled. But yeah, what a wonderful record. There's not a bad song on this. The opener, The Sinister Moribund, the Burgermeister. Fantastic Salisbury Hill, which is allegedly about his yearning to leave and be unmanacled from the shackles of Genesis. Great rocker, Modern Love. The Silliness of Excuse Me. Wonderful ballad humdrum that a downbeat end to side one, but it's a lovely song. Fantastic opener, Slow Burn, is just epic. Dick Wagner on guitar on that one as well, just fantastic. Not a lot of people talk about that song when they talk about this album. I think that's, for me, it's one of my favorite tracks. Waiting for the Big One, big bluesy, big jazzy, big band number. Down the Dolce Vita, again, just epic. A lot of orchestration there as well. And then ending with the classic Here Comes the Flood, that I think is a kind of live staple for him, and I think he still plays to this day. Yeah, wonderful record. Okay, moving on to H, and we've got something that's definitely in the prog camp. Steve Hillage, of course, from the Canterbury scene. Had associations with Gong as well. This is his first solo album, Fish Rising from 1975. Yeah, this is one of my favourites of his. So you've got the epic solo music suite taking up most of side one. Fantastic Salmon song. I love the energy of that. That's wonderful. Yeah, terrific artist. Recent purchase, showed on quite a recent video. This is Implosion. This is an Italian progressive rock band. Not an official album. This is like a kind of putting together of stuff that they did for over about an 8-year period in the 1980s, with some demos and extra bits and pieces. Yeah, interesting. Little bit lo-fi in places. Not killer and not essential, but definitely an interesting listen. Very, very influenced by the British Canterbury scene there. So sort of Caravan, Steve Hillage, you can really hear that in some of the songs. Okay, moving on now to Jay, and we have the wonderful Janji de Grey, and this is their 72 album, I think, Mice and Rats in the Loft. This is amazing. This is just an incredible, crazy progressive folk album with kind of jazz elements. Wonderful, just twists, weaves, changes up all the time. Just when you think you've got a handle on it, it changes again. So it's one of these albums that you just you barely take a breath when you listen to it, but it's just so inventive, so interesting. Well worth your time, definitely. That's another reissue. Probably one of my favourite new releases of last year. I've talked about this a couple of times. This is the Irish progressive folk band Lankum. I think this is their third full studio album, False Lankum, that came out at the beginning of last year. Very, very dark, progressive folk album. This lady here, Raddy Pete, she's a great sort of collector, and she's studied, a lot of traditional music, particularly Irish music, but she's very broad with her tastes. And there's a really nice, I think it was a podcast that I think you can get it on YouTube, where she's talking with Shirley Collins, obviously I guess, a classic British traditional folk singer, and sort of comparing notes and so on. But yeah, very, very dark. A lot of metalers like this album because it's quite doomy. So I've sort of coined it doom folk. But it's not an album you're going to want to play all the time, but it's very compelling. Not an easy listen, but wonderful nonetheless. Something a lot happier, brighter, and upbeat. This is Magna Carta, so it's a British prog rock band. This is their debut album that I was very fortunate to be gifted a copy. A friend of mine who does house clearances found this in an attic. Wonderful mint original. These do go for some money on Mercury. And this for me is because I've got one or two of their other albums, but this for me is the best, is their best album. Just short songs, very acoustic based, wonderful though, quite sort of folk pop, I guess you could say, with a progressive edge. Really, really good listen. Yeah, that's Magna Carta's debut. Okay, then we move on to N, and this is Novalis. So this is a German progressive rock band. Those are the guys in there. So you've got two guitars, bass, drums, keys. So yeah, this is I think this is their second album. I picked up this on the Brain label. Quite laid back in places, a bit lightweight, not killer, but quite a nice listen. I haven't actually got any more of their albums in my collection at this time. So, okay, moving on to O. And this is the George Asuka Quintet, and this is Sea Breeze. So this is from, I think, 1974 or 75, I think. It's a reissue. Well, this is a Japanese press, as you can see, because it's all in Japanese there. And this is a great album. This is a kind of jazz fusion, but probably a little bit more sort of traditional, sort of hard bop jazz, I guess, with some sort of proggy leanings, I guess. Wonderful version of Fool on the Hill by Lennon McCartney. Sounds fantastic as well. Really, really excellent album, that one. Okay, and then we move into prog pop again, with a kind of, I guess, one of the first fusion jazz artists, Diodato. This is his debut album, Prelude. This is a classic with the big hit. Also, Sprach Zarathustra, his interpretation of that, big sounding with all the brass and orchestration. Wonderful stuff. And then another very familiar album, Queen. This is Queen 2, of course. This is arguably their one and only foray into progressive rock, which is basically an album of two sides, where Brian May wrote all the songs on the first side, and then Mercury wrote all the songs on side 2. All the songs on side 1, I should say, apart from Loser in the End, which was Roger Taylor, of course. And yeah, I mean, it's just the craziness of the second side with Fairy Fellas, Masterstroke, Ogre Battle, Nevermore, the amazing March of the Black Queen, 8 minutes of just studio trickery and bombastic vocals, backward masking, all sorts going on it, really. They really threw everything. And the kitchen sink, as I think they said, or was it Roy Thomas Baker? I can't remember who said that. Maybe it was one of the members of the band. But anyway, so that's Queen and Queen 2. Then the wonderful, then R, we've got Renaissance. This is symphonic progressive rock band. This is one of their later 70s albums that doesn't get a lot of love, doesn't get shown very much, so that's why I picked it. I really, really like this album. This is from 79. I think this is arguably where the kind of quality, they did a few albums after this, but this is their last really, truly great album, I think. So wonderful stuff with the think 3-octave range of Annie Haslam on vocals. Superb stuff. This is a really nice album, a little bit obscure. This is The Sun Also Rises, which is a husband and wife team of Graham and Anne Hemingway. Progressive folk album, quite sparse, but the songs are terrific. Just guitar and vocal with some light percussion, hand percussion, and so on. If you like Incredible String Band, you'll definitely be into that. The fact that I've said ISB may well put quite a few people off. As I said on my previous video, they are a bit Marmite. But yeah, worth checking out anyway, if you've not heard it. Okay, and the next one is, this is another freebie I was given from somebody who watches my videos. I bought this into the shop and Ben gave it to me. This is an ECM jazz, sort of progressive jazz artist called Ralph Towner. And this is Solstice from 1975, I think. Wonderful atmospheric album. Bass, guitar, acoustic guitar, saxophone and drums. Just really, really nice listen. I've now actually got a couple more of his albums. I do quite enjoy them. Don't always see them though, so they're not that common. Okay, completely different. We've got You, and that's the United States of America. Yeah, I've talked about this album on a couple of times. An absolute classic. More probably psychedelia than progressive, but I've put it in here because it's just so innovative, I think. Electronic psychedelic album where there's just no guitars on it at all. It's all violin, bass, drums, electronic effects, and it's a real ride from beginning to end. From 1968, if you've not heard that, do yourselves a favour and have a listen, because it's fantastic. Okay, and then we move on to V. We've got Van der Graaf Generator, so most definitely in progressive rock realm. I've got a few of their albums. This is their debut, the Aerosol Grey Machine from 1969. I really like this album because it's not strictly, it's not as progressive as their later stuff, instrumentally wise, but the songs, Peter Hamill's songs on this, I think are fantastic. Quite Bowie-ish with his vocals on this. Yeah, it's just a terrific listen. Okay, and then we move on to W. Another, I think, quite innovative artist. This is David Vorhaus. So David Vorhaus, British synth meister, synthesized electronics wizard. Very innovative, built his own synthesizers and an instrument called a kaleidophone to get some really strange, weird sort of sounds that are sort of present on his records. I'm only familiar with the first 3 albums. I know that he has done a lot of work after this one. This one was from 1980. This is Re-Entry. And it's a kind of concept album of a artist breaking free from Earth and going into space and so on and so forth. And the music really is like the cover. So if you've not heard that, that'll give you a good idea of what it kind of sounds like. So yeah, pretty much completely synthesized. Interesting listen. All the kind of tracks segue into one another, so it's essentially part 1 and part 2. But yeah, that's David Vorhaus, White Noise 3 re-entry. Okay, then we go to X. This is Zoll Caravan, so the German prog psychedelic band. This is Electrip. Better cover those up because there's some boobies. Very psychedelic cover, as you can see from that. And by all accounts, this is more psychedelic than progressive. Apparently, they get their stuff got a bit more progressive rock, and heavier, sort of, as they went into the 70s. I think this is from '69. Really interesting album, fusion of sort of psychedelic rock, progressive elements, electronic bits and pieces here and there. Okay, then we move to Y, getting near the end now. And I thought, yeah, no surprises with Y. You got Yes. This is their second album, Time in a Word. I'm going to be honest, this is the period of Yes that I really enjoy. Their first few albums, I think, are great. When Rick Waiten comes on board, that's when I kind of jump off the bus. To be honest with you, it all just gets a little bit OTT for me. And this is a great album. This is nothing like their stuff that they would do in the 70s. This is quite jazzy in places, and it's got some covers. The song Every Days, I really like the Stephen Stills song. And then, yeah, just great. I really enjoy it. Yeah. Okay. And then finally, and this is the cheat, I hadn't got anything, an artist or an album with Z or Z. So I decided to go for Zeppelin, House of the Holy, which I think is probably their most progressive album from 1973. Yeah, we all know this record, don't we? Yeah, I thought of this really because of the song what's it called? No Quarter. I couldn't remember the name of the song then. Which is John Paul Jones, and obviously you've got a lot of progressive sounds with the keyboards there. It's very atmospheric, quite a long piece, I think 6 or 7 minutes. Yeah, so that's Z for Zeppelin. As I say, a little bit of a cheat there, but there you go. Okay, guys, so yeah, hope you enjoyed that. Oh, we've gone over 30 minutes. Obviously longer than I anticipated it was going to be, as usual, so my apologies there. But thanks to Bill. Yeah, go and sub his channel if you haven't already. And yeah, I'll hopefully be back soon with another video. So take care of yourselves. All the best. Cheers. Bye.